Welcome back to the Tracy Take. Today, Ryan and I will be reviewing the Chicago Bears 2021 season. But before we get into that, Ryan and I, we have a goal of getting to 400 subscribers by Super Bowl weekend, which is just less than 2 weeks away. So if you have not already, subscribe to this channel, please, and also like this video, comment on this video, and share this video with your Bears friends and fans. And Ryan, let's get into it. So the Bears, reason why I just said 7th overall, seventh worst team overall, because they traded their first round pick for Justin Fields, which I think all in all he had a solid rookie season, and I think their draft last year was overall fairly solid, and we'll get to that in a second. But starting off with you, what were some of the things that went well for the Bears during this season?
I'm going to start off with exactly what you just said. I think Justin Fields, on this channel, you know that we have been highly critical of Justin Fields. And I think overall, his progression from preseason to the end of the year, you really saw him grow his pocket presence. He looked a lot more calm and just accurate with the ball. I would highlight this by, if you go and watch Justin Fields in the preseason, I think it was against the Bills when he had his worst preseason performance, in my opinion. And then if you go watch him in the regular season against the Steelers, who actually had a really good pass rush and a pretty decent secondary with Minkah Fitzpatrick and Joe Hayden and those guys, I thought Justin Fields did a very good job of standing in the pocket, taking hits, hitting receivers, and he ended up with a stat line of 58.9% completion, 1,870 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, with a 73.2 passer rating. And I know those numbers aren't that great, but again, it's the progression from beginning of the season to the end, and I think nobody of the rookie quarterbacks progressed more. I don't think that Justin Fields was the best, but I don't think anybody went from such a low standing in my eyes to improving as much as he did. And then kind of like what you said, rookie class as a whole, Khalil Herbert, Robert Borum was their starting right tackle. And to me, I think a guy that's going to play a bigger impact next season is going to be Tevin Jenkins. Jason Peters is about to go into a retirement home. And I just think that he will be an upgrade at that position, even though Jason Peters is probably a Hall of Famer. But I think there's one thing that I think was probably the biggest good, and I'll let you say it because you're the one that brought it to my attention. So,
the thing that sticks out to me when reviewing the stats were the 18.5 sacks that Robert Quinn had on the year. The defense as a whole had 49 sacks, 4th overall. They're really the reason why the Bears aren't picking first overall, in my opinion, because this defensive front seven was really good getting after the quarterback. And even then, Robert Quinn had 18.5. Travis Gibson had 7. Khalil Mack had 6 and only played in 7 games. So what would this defense have been like if Khalil Mack had been healthy for the entire year? I think a lot of good came out of the offensive front, the defensive front seven. They could improve maybe a little bit in the cornerbacks scenario. They only had 8 picks on the season, but still, that being said, that they had the 3rd overall defense with passing yards allowed. That's me being nitpicky, but I mean, it's never also hurts to have too many corners who are elite level.
3rd ranked passing defense.
Oh yeah,
3rd ranked passing defense.
Oh yes, 3rd ranked passing defense. I need to slow down a little bit there. But yeah. I think there's a lot of good that came out of this season. You know, we could be picky on the bad, but if you look at it as a whole, where the franchise is at, I would still say it was an overall successful season. It's kind of similar to the Jets. You know, they started out very, very shaky rookie quarterback, and then they did end up progressing throughout the year, and potentially could be. Let's see what happens with some in-division rivals. Potentially the Bears could maybe make a solid comeback with the right coach. I think it's one of the things that in the offseason that they need to focus on. Me personally is Justin Fields did improve a lot, so this is kind of transitioning into some of the bad with the 10 picks, and then also, and I couldn't confirm if these were all losses or if these were just times that the balls hit the ground, but he did also have 12 fumbles this season. And so, as I said, I'm not sure how many of those were losses. I couldn't seem to find that number. But the ball hit the ground 12 times.
It's probably total.
It's probably just total. Yeah, just total times it hit the ground. Yeah. So that's something that they're going to want to clean up, because if he can protect the ball a little bit more. You have David Montgomery in the background. You have Khalil Herbert. That's one thing we talked about. And Justin Fields, to me, seems like he is his best at throwing when he is on the run, and you give him some few options and bring out his elusiveness. And it felt like they were trying to make him a pocket passer, and that's just not something that I feel like he has graded. He can get better at that, but still while he's improving on that. But also then just for the unpredictability of the offense. Matt Nagy, who is not there anymore, they're going to be finding a coach, and I hope they find a coach that can implement this type of system for them.
They've already found one.
Oh, they did already find him? I know.
It was the Colts defensive coordinator.
Oh, yep, they did. Yep. So, then I hope they bring in an offensive coordinator then that can
Matt Eberflus is the name.
Is the new coach or the offensive coordinator?
Yeah. That's the new head coach.
Well, it's obviously defensive coordinator, so it might be a little bit more defensive minded. They can bring an offensive coordinator who can run an RPO, can run the option, get Justin Fields out in space, and also make the defender have to pick. Like do I go with the running back here? Or do I stay back? If you just keep him in the pocket, that's just not where Justin Fields' strength is at. And I think it also takes away from a lot of the threat and a lot of his strengths as well. So I think if they can find a coach there in the offseason, I think that'll help improve on his mistakes, on these turnovers. I think that'll also help out the offense just keep progressing.
Yeah. And so there's a few similarities between this team and I think the team that is picking 6 and the Carolina Panthers. One, I think the weak offensive line that we kind of already touched on. This offensive line is not nearly as bad as that one, but still definitely something to be improved on. But the run defense to me wasn't as good as it could have been. I know Khalil Mack and some of those guys getting hurt up front is not going to help. But I really think that is something that can be improved upon, and I think it really let down a really good pass rush. And in my opinion, I really like Jalen Johnson and kind of what they have going on in that secondary. So I think this team has a few places that they need to target, but I think that's going to be a good transition over to what do you think that they need to do to improve?
Well, for me, I mean, I'm also going to hit the offensive line, and I have one other one as well, but I agree with you as the offensive line was weaker on this side. But also, on top of that, if you look at who's hitting free agency or retirement, Jason Peters, James Daniels, and Sam Mustipher, those are 3 of their starters that are right there that are hitting the offense, that are hitting free agency. Also, Jermaine Ifedi, who was like kind of their swing tackle guy, is also hitting the free agency market. So maybe they'll bring him back cheap. But that being said, though, that is still already a weak offensive line. Now you're going to be piecing it back together, which is going to be a big puzzle, and you want to make sure that you put all the pieces in the correct place to save your young franchise quarterback. The next thing I think they need to address is they're going to need to address their skill position player. Well, their receivers specifically. Cole Kmet is a solid tight end. I like what I saw out of him this year. However, though, Allen Robinson is hitting free agency, and it's looking like he's going to want 8 figures. And I don't know if he's going to be worth that. He only had 410 yards on the season with 38 catches and 1 touchdown through 12 games. And also, it seems like Justin Fields found his new toy to play with. Darnell Mooney was a 1,000-yard receiver, so he might become the new number 1. I think that's something that they need to address in the draft is get another young receiver. And with them picking in the second round, which is where they start, I'm pretty sure they have the second-round pick.
They do.
You could find someone in there that could potentially kind of fit that resume if you feel like you can hit the offensive line through free agency because they do have $34 million in estimated cap space. Who's that Purdue receiver?
David Bell.
I think he would be kind of around that spot where they would pick. Around that
early second round.
Early second round. I think that would be a good option to complement him with Darnell Mooney and Cole Kmet. Because running game wise, I think that they're fit. I think that they're set. I think I'd love to see them have similar style to how Baltimore plays. But what do you think that they should address in the draft and also in the offseason?
So I think that they pretty much, I think, need to really focus on offensive line and building around Justin Fields. There's going to be a lot of underrated offensive line talent, I think, available in free agency. Ted Karras out of New England. And I think Jermaine Ifedi is a guy that can come back and play a role. But there's also a lot of good talent, I think, that's projected to go in the 3rd, 4th round. And I think like a guy like Thayer Munford is a guy I've thrown around a lot in these videos of like a good 3rd, 4th round guard. He's just a big, violent guy, 6'6", 320, a guy that you want on your interior and a guy that you want to run behind. So I really think that they can find good value there. I'm not as concerned about the skill position players for them at the moment, because I think the way that this team wants to play is hard-nosed football.
Yeah.
I don't think that they want to play a high-flying like flag football style, kind of like Kansas City or Buffalo. And so for me, I think Justin Fields can make do with Darnell Mooney and Cast.
Yeah.
And Allen Robinson really didn't play that big of a role, and I doubt he's going to be back, really.
Yeah.
And so for me, I think just beef up in the trenches. I would like to see them maybe get Roquan Smith, like a running mate. And I think guys in that 2nd round area like Chad Mumma, Christian Harris, even Brandon Smith out of Penn State. I know he's projected to go a little later, but even then, if they like a guy that they think they can take there, then take him. And so I think there are a few different ways that they can go, but I think ultimately front 7 on the defense or offensive line on offense is the right place for them this offseason to really focus on. So,
I like that.
So yeah. But I mean, it'll be interesting. Let us know what you guys think that the Bears are going to do in the offseason down below in the comments. And other than that, please make sure to like and subscribe. Tyler and I are trying to hit 400 subscribers by Super Bowl weekend, so we're running out of time. So if you could help us reach that goal, we would really appreciate it. But other than that, I think we will see you guys next time.